Hello, YouTubers. This is the Anonymous Reality TV Blogger. Hope you guys are having an amazing day. Today, I'm going to be reviewing Ready to Love Season 5, Episode 4. I know it's saying, via OWN, probably Season 4, but to me, it's the 5th season. The first 2 seasons were in Atlanta. The next 2 seasons were in Houston. That's 4. We're in the 5th season in DC. So that's what it is. That's what we're doing. Episode starts off with nephew Tommy getting the guys together and basically, giving them a little pep talk that this is going to be their week to kind of explore some of their connections. And then by the end of the week, decide on which of the women is not ready to love and who will be eliminated. So after that, we start to get into the dates. And so Tisha and Frank had a really good date. And, Frank really expressed how much he was feeling her. And it was just more than just a physical attraction. And they had some cute moments in the photo booth or what have you. Then after that, we moved on to Tyrone and Carrie. And basically, they needed to have a conversation because it was reiterated last week when Carrie had, the session with the ladies, that basically Tyrone blew up at her and just abruptly ended the connection with no explanation, but then called, I believe he called somebody else. I want to say it was Shiloh, to explain basically in debrief that he essentially couldn't talk to more than a certain number of women because of his PTSD. But then things sort of flipped today where Tyrone just basically said he just wasn't interested in her anymore and wanted to explore other connections. But the issue that I had was that he could have just told her that from the jump instead of blowing up at her over the phone. And the other issue I had is he called her aggressive. And I hate when people use that word to describe Black women when a conversation isn't going their way. And it always happens when it's a conversation where you're trying to get answers and you're trying to hold somebody accountable who is asking appropriate questions as to why something is happening the way that it's happening because it didn't make sense. And instead of you just being completely honest, you get in defensive mode and then you react to try to make it look as though it wasn't, it wasn't you, it was her that was the issue. And that's just not something I subscribe to. Hopefully at the reunion, Tyrone can give a proper apology to Carrie because it's just a negative stigma that continues to be plagued against Black women being labeled aggressive. And a lot of the times that's not even the case. A lot of the times it's simply that we're really just trying to get the answers and we're asking the questions to where if you are in the wrong, if you are guilty, we're expecting you to hold yourself accountable and say, okay, I shouldn't have yelled at you. I shouldn't have spoke to you in that tone. I should have just simply said from the beginning, with my PTSD, this is where I'm at with the females. Or after our, interactions, I realized that I didn't want to pursue things further with you. But instead, we have this blow up and then we have the aftermath of this blow up where Tyrone still is being a little bit defensive and just not keeping it 100. So I felt that just wasn't fair to Carrie. And then it's when you get labeled that, then it's when other men hear about it in the process, they're obviously not going to be all in with her either. So it just is unfortunate. And I reiterate that Tyrone needs therapy and not to be unready to love, because if something as small as you not being able to properly tell a woman that you no longer want to date her, that it causes you to blow up at her, just from a simple question of asking why and asking for clarification based off of previous interactions, then something's wrong. You don't need to be on a dating show. I'm sorry. So that's kind of where things left off with that. Next, we got into a double date with Cornelius and Camille and Courtney and Corey, who were going rollerblading. So essentially what happened is Cornelius basically said that he wanted Corey to be preoccupied with Courtney, so that way he could try to get to know Camille, but then on the same token still kind of check Courtney out on the sly. and go from there. So him and Camille talk, and Camille notices Cornelius keeps checking out Courtney and kind of like tells him like, hey, like focus on me or whatever. And then Cornelius basically says in the confessional that he is concerned long term that Camille might be too possessive, and so he wants to continue to explore things, but he wants to just make sure that things are on the up and up with them, and that she's not getting possessive or being too much to where it makes it seem as though he's not allowed to talk to any of the females, especially when nothing has been established of anything being exclusive. So more on that. And then we go over to Corey and Courtney, and they're having a little flirt game happening. Corey is doing some stepping because he's a Kappa and some other stuff. And so I felt, though, that the way the editing happened, that the date was abruptly cut short. I felt that, like, usually on these double dates, you see both people like interact with each other, and we never saw Cornelius and Courtney have a conversation, even though he's made it evident that that's also somebody he's strongly interested in. So I don't know if that was done on purpose, and that the potential foreshadowing could be that they may end up together, or how that's going to be. But normally they do show both of the conversations. So I was a little surprised that that didn't happen on this particular double date. So after that, the next date that we saw was Walter and Moomin. They go on like a nice little date, like walking around, picking flowers and some other stuff. And it seemed like Walter really was, taken aback and really interested in Mamin. And I don't know if he like overlooked her before, what happened, but he was really feeling her after that date. So that was good. The next thing we had was like a double date at like a yoga Pilates type of setup where everybody was in gym clothes. And that double date was with also Walter and Shiloh. And it was also with, I want to say it's Phil. It's like all these men with the beards, it gets confusing. But I want to say it was Phil and Carrie that were on that date. So they showed pretty much the bulk of the date of Carrie and Walter talking, and then also they showed Phil and Shiloh talking. So then after that, the next date we got to was Bilal and Nadia. They had like a nice little, it looked like a little bartending type of date or what have you, of mixing different drinks and things. The lights were dim, and they were just doing a lot of flirting, like hands on each other's thighs, like really just feeling each other. I said in a previous video that they just remind me so much of last season's AJ and Kyra, and I just don't like, it's like every single season casting makes it a point to always cast people who look similar to the previous cast members, and it never fails. But it seems to be going really well with Bilal and Nadia. So then also the other date we had was with Frank and Tisha, and that date was a little bit awkward because Frank was really trying to get to know Tisha in terms of like what she likes to do for fun, what she likes to hang out with her friends, what are some hobbies, like just really trying to get to know her. And they had some type of drink mixing date as well. And, all she wanted to talk about was her career, her education, her career, her being an entrepreneur, but like nothing about herself in terms of what she likes to do. If she likes to go to the movies, if she likes to work out, if she likes to like just something about her, so that, Frank was able to kind of, get a little bit deeper in terms of who this person is outside of being a boss, outside of being a CEO. So he was a little frustrated and felt a way about that, because he felt as though like that could have been a really opportunity to kind of get to know her. So then after that, that was basically all of the dates. So then basically, Tommy reconvenes with all the fellas and ask them basically how their week went, who was feeling who. And then it's always nice to like look at the males' reactions when the men say like they're into somebody that they're feeling. Because then it was funny because when Corey said that he was into Courtney, Cornelius had this look like, like, I don't know, dude. Like, I need to step it up. But Cornelius, when Tommy got to him, he made it a point to say that Courtney basically told him, how she felt and that the ball's in his court, to basically, finish the game, make the slam dunk essentially. So, I'm curious to see where things go with that. Moving forward. So anyways, everybody kind of just goes around, says who they're, the women that they're interested in, and going from there, and then who their bottom was. So we didn't see Sabrina in this episode, which I found interesting. And I believe it was Cornelius who said that Sabrina was in his bottom just because they just didn't have a conversation. And so they also said that Tisha was in their bottom because they felt, again, that she had this wall up. And then also they felt Carrie was in the bottom, but I felt it more so was influenced because of Tyrone and what Tyrone said about her. I still don't necessarily feel that it was all on Carrie. And I just don't think it was fair for her. So anyways, after that, Cornelius takes out Tisha on a date and, kind of they're just like having some drinks and she's all like, should I be nervous? Like, is there anything I need to be nervous about? And Bilal takes Carrie out on a date and to kind of discuss, what the feedback is from the fellas and, things that they were saying or what have you. And so basically it ended up being that Carrie got eliminated and that she was no longer ready to love. And Cornelius was trying to convey to Tisha that although she's staying, that the men still feel she has a wall up. And so Tisha feels that it's a cop-out, but from what we're seeing, we're not seeing anything of depth with her. The first episode, she would ask like the same question over and over. So like, I can't remember specifically what the conversation was, but like, she asked like the same question like 5 times in a row, like a different variation of the same question. And the men basically had reiterated that like there was nothing of depth happening and that she was asking like superficial stuff and it wasn't anything happening. And then this episode, all she's talking about is her career, but nothing about herself. In terms of, who she is as a person, what makes her her, how she is around family, friends, what does she like to do, like just nothing that tells you anything. So that's why they feel that there's a wall up, because she's not opening up about anything. It's nothing. And also the fact that she's being kind of standoffish about it is also being, not interpreted well by the men. I do think, barring something drastic happening, she's the next elimination on the female side. Like, I just do not see a situation where she is going to go far on this show, because it's very evident that the men aren't feeling her, but for whatever reason, she keeps getting saved out of these bottom 2 situations. And it's like, I feel like she's on the way out whenever the next female elimination is. So after that, they show a preview for next week. And so next week looks to be our usual pool party, which always has drama. And it looked like somebody is leaving like little crush notes to different women. They have a crush on them and all this other stuff, if it's just one person doing it or whatever. And then nephew Tommy comes in and basically tells the singles that there's going to be 2 bombshells, like one male bombshell and one female bombshell. And it's the first time in the show's history that they're doing that, to try to shake some things up with some of the couples and try to bring some additional drama. So, and then it was funny because somebody made the comment, they're like, yeah, so those of you who aren't really into, aren't secure in your situations, like, this is, this is what it's going to be with this. So I just thought it was funny. And so then next week, of course, is going to be, a male elimination usually. So that will be that. I'm pretty sure, barring something else, it's likely to be Corey, unless somebody else, or it could be Tyrone even. But likely Corey, because apparently he ends up being the person who's like, again, he's making the same mistake he made the first episode, which is basically giving all of these women all of these cards or telling them all the same stuff. And of course, all of the females are going to, congregate and discuss, who's getting what. And you see at the end of the preview, Moomin talking to Corey, and he said that, we just need to focus on us. But that's not reassuring because you're basically trying to ignore the fact that you're trying to run game. So that wasn't cool at all. So we'll go from there. But let me know what you guys think and let me know what your guys' thoughts are. And I will talk to you guys soon. Talk to you guys later.